How a food truck hits $660,000 per year. The real math. 80% of food trucks will never even come close to breaking $200,000 in annual sales. And that's a hard truth that nobody wants to hear, but it's the reality of this industry. Only 1 in 5 food trucks will ever break $500,000 in annual sales, and most will barely scrape by, struggling to make ends meet, working long hours for minimal profit. The ones that do make it are often the ones that get lucky with a great location or a trendy concept, but luck only takes you so far. The fact is, most food truck owners are barely getting by, and it's not because they're not working hard, it's because they don't understand the numbers. They don't know how to price their products, how to manage their costs, and how to scale their business. But there's one truck that managed to hit $660,000 in annual sales, and that's what we're going to dive into today, the real math behind their success. We're going to break down their revenue streams, their expenses, and their profit margins, so you can see exactly how they did it. This isn't a feel-good story about following your passion. This is a hard-nosed look at the numbers and what it takes to really make it in the food truck business. Subscribe if you are building a blue-collar business, and comment your trade so I can run the numbers for you. The numbers don't lie, and if you're not paying attention to them, you're going to get left behind. So let's take a closer look at what it really takes to succeed in this industry, and how one food truck was able to achieve remarkable success, hitting $660,000 in annual sales, a feat that few can match. Now that we've established the annual sales goal of $660,000, let's dive into the daily numbers that'll get us there. To reach this target, a food truck needs to sell around $1,800 per day, and that's assuming you're operating 365 days a year, which is a realistic goal if you're serious about making real money in this business. This daily sales target is what's going to make or break your operation, so it's crucial to understand the math behind it. When you break it down, $1,800 per day translates to 120 to 150 tickets per day, depending on your average sale price. If you're selling higher-priced items, you might be on the lower end of that ticket range, but if you're selling more affordable fare, you'll need to move more volume to hit your daily target. Let's assume an average sale price of $12 to $15 per ticket, which is a reasonable range for most food truck operations. At $12 per ticket, you'd need to sell 150 tickets per day to reach $1,800, while at $15 per ticket, you'd need to sell 120 tickets per day to hit the same target. These numbers are crucial because they'll dictate your menu pricing, inventory management, and staffing decisions. You can't just pull these numbers out of thin air. You need to understand your costs, your customer base, and your competition to make informed decisions about your pricing and sales strategy. The key here is to find that sweet spot where you're maximizing revenue without sacrificing customer volume or profitability. It's a delicate balance, but one that's essential to achieving that $660,000 annual sales goal. By focusing on these daily sales targets and understanding the math behind them, you'll be able to make data-driven decisions that drive real growth and profitability in your food truck business. Now that we've got a handle on the revenue side of things, let's dive into the margins and profitability of this food truck business. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how much money you're bringing in, it's about how much you're keeping. With food costs ranging from 25 to 35% and labor costs around 30 to 40%, the profit margin for a food truck can be as low as 10 to 15%, which means that for every dollar sold, only 10 to 15 cents is actual profit. That's right, folks. For every dollar that goes through the register, only a dime to 15 cents is actual profit, The rest is just going out the door to pay for the food, the labor, and all the other expenses. So where's the rest of the money going, you ask? Well, let's break it down. Food costs are a big chunk. You've got to buy the ingredients, the supplies, the fuel for the truck, and all that adds up. And then you've got labor costs. You've got to pay your employees, and that's not just their hourly wage, that's also payroll taxes, workers' comp, and all the other expenses that come with having employees. And then you've got other expenses, like marketing, insurance, permits, and all the other overhead that comes with running a business. So when you're looking at a profit margin of 10 to 15%, you've got to be razor sharp with your expenses. You've got to be able to control your costs and maximize your revenue. Because if you're not, you're just going to be spinning your wheels and not making any real money. And let me tell you, I've seen plenty of food truck owners who are making a lot of money, but they're not keeping any of it because they're not paying attention to their margins, they're not controlling their costs, and they're not maximizing their revenue. So if you want to make real money with a food truck, you've got to be willing to get your hands dirty and dig into the numbers and make sure you're running a tight ship. Now that we've got a solid understanding of the revenue streams, it's time to dive into the profit drain, where all that hard-earned cash can slip right through your fingers if you're not careful. From fuel and maintenance costs to marketing and equipment expenses, there are numerous ways that profit can disappear, and I'm gonna walk you through the top areas where food trucks tend to lose money. First off, let's talk about fuel and maintenance, because if you're not keeping a close eye on these expenses, they can add up quick. You're looking at gas, oil, tires, and repairs, all of which can eat into your bottom line if you're not budgeting for them properly. Then there's marketing, which is essential for getting the word out about your food truck. But it's easy to get carried away with fancy ads and promotions that don't actually drive sales. And don't even get me started on equipment expenses, because when you're dealing with commercial-grade kitchen gear, replacement parts and repairs can be a real budget buster. Another area where food trucks tend to lose money is in inventory management, because if you're not keeping a close eye on your stock levels and expiration dates, you can end up with a bunch of wasted product that's just money down the drain. And finally, there's labor costs, because while you need a solid team to run a successful food truck, overstaffing or understaffing can both be profit killers. So, how do you mitigate these losses and keep your profit margins healthy? Well, it all comes down to careful planning, meticulous budgeting, and a willingness to make tough decisions when necessary. By keeping a close eye on these potential profit drains and taking steps to address them, you can ensure that your food truck is running at maximum efficiency and bringing in the kind of revenue you need to succeed. Now that we've got a handle on the numbers, and we're looking at how to scale this food truck business, let's talk about where the real money's at, and that's recurring locations. Having a steady gig, whether it's a corporate event, a festival, or even a regular spot outside a busy office building, can be a total game changer for your bottom line. These types of locations can provide a steady stream of revenue, and when you're not worried about where your next sale is coming from, you can focus on what really matters, which is making money. When you're relying on street corner sales, you're at the mercy of foot traffic and the weather, and let's be real, that's just not a reliable way to make a living. But when you've got a recurring location locked in, you can plan ahead, you can staff accordingly, and you can make sure you're maximizing your profits. And the best part is, these types of locations often come with higher profit margins, because you're not wasting time and money driving around looking for customers. You're going where you know the customers are going to be. Securing these types of locations takes some hustle, don't get me wrong, but it's worth it in the long run. You've got to be willing to put in the work to build relationships with event planners, corporate clients, and festival organizers, but once you've got those relationships established, you can start to see some real returns. And let me tell you, there's nothing better than having a steady stream of revenue coming in. It's like having a safety net for your business, and it allows you to take risks and make investments that can really take your business to the next level. Now that we've broken down the real math behind a successful food truck, it's time to talk about the payoff and what's next for you. By understanding the numbers and implementing strategies to increase sales, reduce costs, and secure recurring locations, you can set your own food truck up for success and join the ranks of top-earning trucks. It's not just about serving good food, it's about running a tight ship and making smart business decisions. When you focus on the bottom line and make data-driven decisions, you can achieve remarkable results, just like the food truck we've been analyzing, which is raking in $660,000 per year. That's a serious income, and it's within reach for anyone who's willing to put in the work and crunch the numbers. The key is to stay focused on the financials and continually look for ways to improve efficiency and boost sales. By doing so, you can create a thriving business that generates real wealth and provides a comfortable lifestyle. So, if you're serious about building a successful food truck business, or any blue-collar business for that matter, it's essential to have a deep understanding of the math behind it. Subscribe if you are building a blue-collar business, and comment your trade so I can run the numbers for you.